Good morning, everyone. We're going to be conscious of time, of course. It's the last Friday of the summer, and I'm sure many people have places to go. But clearly, once again, the community demonstrates that despite their busy schedules and despite their recreation, they realize what's important because, mashallah, it's full. There's many people here despite the lateness in the calendar. Before we begin, it's important to recognize our host and our hostess whose house has been open for the masses this morning, and that is Yitzi and Paula Nagar. They likely do not want me to say this, but I didn't ask the permission, so I'm going to say it. And that is, they are from the most undercover charitable people that I know. They do things that nobody would imagine. They give in ways that nobody can understand. And everything they do until this moment was bit sin'ah. Always undercover, always modestly, never asking for any fanfare whatsoever. Yitzi, to you and your wife, Hashem should bless you. That should always be fadachs in this house. That there should be much beracha, God willing, and that you should always be on the giving end of the side of tzedakah. Amen v'amen. Just briefly, there are certain organizations that need elaborate introductions. And there are certain organizations that it would take reams of paper to explain what they do. A Giving Hand is not one of those organizations. I asked Meyer this week, I said, Meyer, would you help if I had someone who was trying to have their third or fourth child but was struggling? And he said, Rabbi, let me tell you the ethos of our organization. We want to bring more children into the world, period. It doesn't make a difference what number. It doesn't make a difference who the person is. We just want to help. When he called me and asked me if I would do some introductions here this morning, I initially said no. And then about 30 seconds later, I walked into my mother's house. And I said to my mother, I got a call from Meyer Asher, etc. She says, and what'd you tell him? I said, I can't make it that morning. She said, are you out of your mind? If Meyer Asher and his wife Golda ask you to help them with their organization, you say yes instantaneously. The work that they're doing, I can tell you on a personal level, in my kahal, there are multiple couples who have been on the receiving end of assistance from this organization. There are now multiple couples that I know who now have children because of the work of this extraordinary couple. And you can clap for that. I'll say one additional thing before turning over the mic. There's a famous Gemara that tells us that if we save a life, it is as if you save the world. What about when you create a life? What about when you help bring a human being into this world? What is the zechut for doing that? What is the reward for doing that? I don't know the answer to that question. Perhaps Rabbi Joey will share with us. But I can tell you this. There are going to be, in this community alone, thousands upon thousands of people who are only in existence because of the facilitating done by the extraordinary couple known as Meyer and Golda Asher. Without any further ado, the founders of this organization, Meyer Asher.
Thank you, Rabbi David. It's a zechut to have you with us, and thank you for your kind words. Thank you all for being here this morning. Today is an exciting and emotional day, and we're glad to have the opportunity to share it with all of you. Your attendance alone is proof to the compassion and generosity that define our community. As founder of A Giving Hand, I'm honored to share with you the journey we have embarked on, the lives we have touched, and the dreams we have helped realize. But before I do that, I must thank our hosts this morning, Yitzi and Paula Nagar. who have graciously opened their beautiful home for this most special event. I'd like to thank them for their generous support over the years since day one. It is my humble prayer that this house only sees beracha and is a constant source of chesed for the entire community. While on the topics of thank yous, I have a few. First and foremost, to Olga Fax. Olga, who has designed every aspect of this beautiful event and has been working with us for all of our events from day one. Olga, without you, this day certainly would not have happened. Thank you. I'd like to thank Mr. Edmund Nahum, our generous sponsor for this morning's beautiful breakfast. Thank you, Mr. Nahum. And thank you to the Deal Flower Shop for all the beautiful flowers and canopies that you see here today. Thank you. Okay. A Giving Hand was born out of a simple but profound belief that everyone who dreams of becoming a parent deserves the chance to do so. Infertility is a deeply personal and often isolating struggle, affecting millions of individuals and couples worldwide. It is a journey marked by hope and heartbreak. The constant anticipation and devastation that comes along can make or break you. When my wife, Golda, and I founded A Giving Hand, we envisioned a world where the financial burden and stress of infertility would cease to exist. Our mission is to empower those on this journey to give them the support they need to turn their dreams into reality. The relationship with our couples doesn't end with a check and well wishes. We stay in touch constantly and monitor their progress, periodically sending meaningful gifts throughout the year and, of course, praying for one another. To Golda and I, they're not a client nor a patient, but rather a member of the Giving Hand family. You may ask, Meyer, this is a very nice thing you and your wife are doing, but why did you start A Giving Hand? Golda and I have been married for over 5 years now and have been struggling with infertility ourselves and are still waiting to become parents. When I think about it, it's not really 5 years. It's 2,080 days. For each day is another reminder that we are still childless. I recently thought about the different emotions infertility can inflict, one of which on a personal level is loneliness. It starts when a couple begins their fertility journey and is told you need to try IVF to have a child. In that moment, you feel as if you're in a pit so deep you can never climb out of it. You feel as if there is a deformity with you or your spouse. You don't know what to do or where to turn. However, none of this is true. There is an army ready to back you and support you every step of the way. As I mentioned loneliness, it is only through our work with the Giving Hand that I feel that we are not alone, that each one of you is truly a part of our family. I truly feel that I am fulfilling my life's mission and purpose through the birth of every child. My friends, due to your past support, I am so proud to announce that 17 children have already been born. I would like to relay the following message to the community. Those of us challenged with infertility feel as if we are victims, and it isn't fair we have to deal with a challenge such great as this. It is not easy, and it hurts a lot on a daily basis. However, you are all warriors. I want us all to think back on when infertility was introduced to the world. Infertility started with our imahot, and I often wondered, why start with them? Why did Hashem challenge the greatest woman of all time, who embody everything we hope to live to and emulate? I would think they should have the easiest time bearing children as they had such a great responsibility. I believe this can serve as an answer. They were destined to become the matriarchs of Klal Yisrael. We know how hard they prayed and what each tefillah they sent up was full of. Real tears, real pain, and agony. They taught us what tefillah is and how hard we should pray for what we yearn for. However, there are still so many families waiting for their miracle, many dreams yet to be fulfilled, and that is why we are all here this morning. We need your help to continue our mission. Your support will enable us to help more couples and to provide the support that they so desperately need. They say everything happens in the right time and place, and I've been wondering when our time will come to become parents. Let's imagine it's New Year's Eve, millions of people standing in Times Square, watching the clock strike closer to midnight. And suddenly at 10 p.m., the bowl drops, fireworks erupt in the sky, confetti raining down. Imagine the chaos and confusion. Why? Because it's not the proper time. This is how I look at our personal struggle. We have more to do, more couples to help, and more children to bring into this world. And we will not stop as long as we have the financial support in order to help every deserving couple in need. We are fully committed to preserving the future of this community. We learn from Sarah Imenu that a man or woman without a child is not considered as living. Sarah said to Yaakov, "Vatomer el Yaakov, haba li banim v'im ayin meta anochi." Give me children, otherwise I am dead. The cost of one IVF cycle is $18,000. Think about it for a moment. When you sponsor a cycle, you are not just giving charity, you are giving life to those who feel lifeless. I saw this quote, which I felt was very appropriate. Your life will be defined not by what you gain, but with what you give away. Now imagine the reward for supporting those couples who so badly need your support. I imagine it's much greater than saving one life, as infertility affects the entire family. Hundreds, if not thousands of people are affected by just one couple who don't have children. Let me ask you, how many people are affected by Golda and I not having children yet? I ask each and every one of you to open your hearts and dig deep. It's very simple. The more funds we raise, the more couples we can help. The more couples we help, B'ezrat Hashem, the more children will come into this world. Thank you for your support, your generosity, and your belief in a giving hand. Let's continue to change lives, one child at a time. Thank you. Throughout this journey, I happened to meet and come across a lot of people and figure out what connects to them, and you can really learn about a person that way. When I got married, we met someone by the name of Avi Akiva. Avi is a regular guy with a beautiful, tremendous, and beautiful heart. Avi has been with us since day one, literally. When I reached out to him and I said, hey, I think I want an open organization, and I'm going to need some money to get the organization off and start. Right away, Avi jumped in. No thoughts, no doubts, no questions. It's my honor to call up Avi this morning to address us.
B'reshut HaChachamim, my Rav from high school also. Meyer and Golda, I want to thank you for the opportunity and the invite to speak. This is a beautiful party, and B'ezrat Hashem, you and all your clients are blessed with the beautiful babies this year, and we join you for more beautiful parties just like this one. Now, I know there's delicious food and drinks, and that always beats speeches, and it's hard to follow up on Myers, but I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. For those that know me, they know that there's nothing in the world that I obsess over more than my children. For every bit of joy and happiness that I find in them, I hurt equally as much when I meet and hear about a couple that's struggling to conceive. It pains me deeply. This deep love for my own and matching pain for others is exactly what sparked me to get involved with a Giving Hand and similar organizations. I want nothing more than to see these couples that have been trying get that breakthrough, feel that love, hear their babies' laughs and cries, soak up those hugs and kisses and special moments. This organization really allows for us to stand as one nation, one community, and be a part of each other's journeys. For when we stand together, we bring blessing upon all of Am Yisrael. Today I want to focus on the method of giving. Whether it's your time or money or both, giving seems so hard, so frequent, and so much. It almost starts to feel like a burden. So where do you start? However, like every giant tower that's built, it's done one brick at a time. When I first started getting involved with Meyer and Golda, it didn't start with money or time. It really just started with words of encouragement and advice from time to time. Don't discount what your kind words and friendly checkups on people's lives and their missions can do. Those words, thoughts, they help push them forward at full throttle. Next is start small, but with a consistent frequency. Not just once a year, but keep it consistent. Whether it's every week or every month, whether it's $20 a week or $200 a month, $500, $1,000, $2,000, etc. But keep it consistent. And pick a few causes that you want to start with, one at a time. And the same goes for the time given to Chesed, 30 minutes a week, then an hour, and so on and so forth. Give that cause consistently and track it and grow it. And B'ezrat Hashem, you will see that the amount that you give is consistently growing and that you help more and more people and more causes. And with that, naturally, we are blessed with more time and more parnasa. So Hazak Baruch for all those that are here today. Already in itself, that's huge. B'ezrat Hashem, we always stand together as Am Echad, and may we all be endlessly blessed. And may we live to see a time when no Jew really needs one another, yet we all stand together as Am Echad. Shabbat Shalom.
There are two more speakers, and then the finale. You know people a long time, but you don't know necessarily the story that's going on in their life. Until about 30 seconds ago, I didn't realize who I was introducing. Somebody here in this backyard who I grew up with since I was a little boy. His name is David Harari. I grew up with David a long time. We used to play ball together. He was better. I was terrible. I know his family my whole life. Even till today, when we see each other, we always embrace, we always hug, we always catch up. Until 30 seconds ago, I had no idea that he went on a journey. I had no idea that him and his wife had taken a path to where they are today that wasn't what we would call, quote unquote, the easy route. And so it's a surreal moment for me to introduce the wife of a friend of mine who, I'm ashamed to say, I didn't know till this minute had dealt with this challenge. And so I think paying close attention to the words that are about to be said after mine, I think is the most critical thing we'll do all day. It's an honor to introduce David's wife, Joyce, to say a few words.
First, I want to thank the rabbi. Thank you so much for that. And I want to, can't hear? Thank you for the host for having us here today. And thank you, Maya and Golda, for everything that you've done for us. So, if you told me about a year ago that I'd be standing here in front of everybody, I would have said you're crazy. There's no way I'm able to open up about my journey. It's something so personal and something I would never be able to speak to about anybody. If you are going through infertility, you know how much a struggle it is. You know how alone you can feel, how much stress it puts on your body emotionally and physically. You know how much it weighs you down and makes you feel like there's, sorry. You know how it makes you feel as if there's something wrong with you. When you're dealing with this, it's not something that is ever spoken about. You feel like your body isn't working and you feel like you're less than. And why me? Why is this being put onto me? What did I do wrong? Why is it so hard for me to get pregnant? What can I do to change this? What does Hashem want from me? These thoughts consume you, and it's hard to keep going and being positive around others. For me, I'm here today to tell you how personal it is and how quiet and to myself I have always been on this topic. It's something I have lived with since I got married, and it isn't easy for me to be open about. And not too many people know what I went through. It's scary, but it's a piece of me, and I am proud of it. A giving hand has changed this for me completely, and I'm able to be open about this now. When I first got married, I knew right away I wanted to have a baby, and I didn't want to wait. And that's where me and my husband's journey has begun. After realizing we had a problem a few months in, we started to see a specialist. 1 miscarriage and 7 IUIs later, our first child was born. Thank you, Hashem, my special boy. Back then, it was much harder. To find help unless you had a direct problem, and people didn't speak about it because either it was something very quiet and not too many people were going through it. And to be honest, I was so embarrassed that I wasn't able to tell anybody or ask for help because I wasn't like everybody else. Everyone around me was getting pregnant, all my friends, my sisters, my brothers, and I wasn't, and I was struggling. It was very hard to see that. And time kept passing by, and nothing was changing. After that, about 1.5 years later, I found out I was pregnant. It was a surprise, and I was over the moon. I didn't think I would be able to ever conceive naturally. I had so many plans. I was so excited. I was normal. And I was so excited to meet this little one. At about 25 weeks into this pregnancy, they found a problem with the baby. And unfortunately, we lost that baby. It was heartbreaking and devastating, and it left me dark. But that's a story for another time. The doctors told me it was about a 30 to 35% chance that it could happen again, and we would need to do IVF for the rest of our children. Hashem had other plans for us. And when I say a miracle, I mean really a miracle. I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, naturally. And guess what? It was on that baby's due date. It was like Hashem was telling me, Joyce, everything will be okay. Trust in my plan. I know exactly what I'm doing. We were truly blessed. Of course, the fear throughout that pregnancy took over, and we didn't tell anybody until we gave birth, but it was a COVID baby, so we got away with it. So again, knowing how hard it was for us to get pregnant, we wanted to start right away. There was nothing I wanted more than to have another baby, nothing I loved more than being a mother. It's what I've always wanted and what I'm best at, giving my love to my beautiful babies and seeing the world through their eyes. It's a different type of purpose. We started trying, and after 1 year, we knew it wasn't going to happen on our own. My husband was hopeful that we didn't need the extra help, but at some point, we couldn't wait any longer, and we said it's time to go see the doctor. We finally went back to the doctor, and we started IUI. Since I got pregnant with my first through the IUI, the doctor was hopeful, and he said it would work. After 2 failed IUIs and a canceled cycle, the doctor told me it was time to consider IVF, that I was the perfect candidate. I was so lost and so afraid, but at the same time, I was so excited because it was one step closer to having a baby in my arms. It's that roller coaster of emotions, the ups and downs. We sat and we discussed it, but there was one problem now. How on earth were we going to deal with all this stress? The financial stress, the emotional stress, and the physical stress. All the medication, all the ups and downs, and all these feelings were going through my head. My head was all over the place. No one tells you about the way the medication makes you feel and how hard it is on your body. Now, before we even spoke to anybody, I found out I was early pregnant. The doctor was so confused. We were prepping to start IVF. And at 6 weeks, I had an early miss. Now my mind was made up. We knew it was time to close the deal. I was on a mission. I needed to start. I called Mrs. Molly Haber, and she told us to call Meyer Asher. He had just started something new to help people with secondhand infertility, and he should be able to help me. Now, not so many people were able to help us because we had 2 kids at home already, and in their eyes, it wasn't important, and you don't have a problem. You already have 2 kids. So I said, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? I'll never forget calling him that day, and he was in the airport about to go to Israel. He gave me all the time in the world. He listened and told me, don't worry, Joyce, we will help you, and that's exactly what they did. Not only did they help me with the burden of IVF financially, they helped me just being there, by being my friend, letting me know it's going to be okay and we're in this together. Knowing that they themselves were going through it at the same time made me feel so normal, and I wasn't only able to focus on myself, I could think of them too. After the first round of IVF failed, we managed to freeze one egg. Can you imagine, out of 30, only one survived? And we tried again, hoping we'd get more. My mind was not okay. I had to sit back and learn to trust. The one thing I took from Golda is that you have to really put all your faith in Hashem, and it will happen. She was always my positivity when I needed it. Time, patience, and lots of prayers. The only person you could turn to during this time was Hashem, and all I wanted was to keep doing good and grow for my future child. I then called Meyer again lost, saying it's time for me to start again. How am I going to ask my husband for that money after we just spent so much on all these failed cycles? What if it fails again? What if it doesn't happen? We have to keep trying. What happens next? It never ends. His words exactly were like this. Tell your husband, we have this. We will help you. Please don't stress. You already have enough stress to deal with. And that's exactly what he did, and we went in and we prayed. That round, we didn't get anything, from 32 eggs to 0. But my one frozen egg was all we had to work with. I had no hope. I kept thinking about the next round I'd have to do, but I prayed and I begged, and I knew with all my kids, this one had to be a fighter. The egg took, and luckily I became pregnant. Hashem is good. Of course, it wouldn't be my story if we didn't have some complications, right? So at about 5 weeks, we found out I had a very large hematoma that was much bigger than the baby. The doctors were concerned if she would make it. They told me my baby was basically battling real estate, who would win at being the larger building. I was put on bed rest, hoping and praying that my little fighter would fight. Every appointment, the baby grew, but so did the bleed. So until about 5 months, I wasn't able to get excited until they finally said, your baby is healthy. My fighter. I was on cloud 9. All I wanted to do throughout those 5 months was tell Maya and Golda the good news from day one. At 20 weeks, I texted them to let them know the amazing news. Not only were they excited, but the joy was as if they were having the baby. Real happiness for one another. You don't find that too often. What a giving hand has done is so special. Not too many people can overcome their struggles just to go help others. Infertility is so hard, and it's truly an emotional roller coaster. The fact that they are here and they make you feel less alone is truly a gift. They were my shaliachs from Hashem, and I will always feel so blessed because without them, my beautiful Rachel Mazal would not be here. With each child I had, there was a struggle, and it teaches you how to love and how to appreciate every single moment and to never take them for granted. I thank Hashem every single day for my blessings. So help us help others. Help us bring babies into this world. To the parents that want nothing more, to the families that will do whatever it takes and have no other option but to ask for help. The ones who had tried everything and feel like giving up, don't let them give up. Donate to a giving hand to continue bringing into many more miracles into this world. Thank you so much.
This corner, you should be very proud because that takes an extraordinary amount of courage. In closing, Maya, I thought I was going to wish you and your wife Hazaku Baruch when I left. I may be asking you for a beracha before I leave. In closing, to bring it home and to crystallize it only as he could, we introduce Rabbi Joey here, b'chavod.
Thank you, Rabbi David. Thank you to the Nagar family. There are a lot of people in the community that open up their pockets and open up their wallets, but there are some of them that make it hard or are not so comfortable opening up their home. I think the heroes even open up their home, and thank you very much for doing so. Today is also in memory of this little boy who this community lost towards the beginning of the summer, Yosef Chaim Fax. And I had the honor and opportunity to speak at both the 7 and 30-day Arayat and mentioned how incredible this family is and how much I hope they're able to do in the memory of this little, beautiful, wonderful child. And today is one such example. In the memory of this adorable boy, hopefully today, many children will be born because of his memory. The summer is coming to a close, and as it ends, I think the only thing you can feel is wow. First of all, wow, I don't know why we're going back. But wow, our community is unbelievable. So many of us have been at so many events this summer because this community is so incredible. And what makes us so incredible is the fact that we have your back. And we have every little or big need. If someone doesn't have food, we have your back. If someone has an addiction problem, we have your back. If someone has a problem dating and we want to help them get married, we have their back. If someone has a problem with funds and they maybe can't even afford their rent, we have your back. We just have your back. And this organization is another incredible example of that idea. I'd like to give to you, if I can, the story and the journey of a giving hand. Most of you are going to go home right after this event is over. And when you walk into your house, you may have 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 cars parked in front of your home. You're going to walk inside the house. There'll be a bunch of kids, maybe even a bunch of grandkids running around. There might even be some mud on the floor as you walk inside because it's muddy outside. Maybe there'll be some cereal spilled in the kitchen. Maybe there'll be some tubes outside in the pool. And maybe there'll be some wrappers of some snack that they had left on the grass. And you will look around and realize that you are incredibly blessed. Because now imagine if all of that was not there. And you went to the home and it was just your car. And you walked inside and no one else was in the house. And your floor was perfectly clean and totally white. And your grass was mowed. And there was no tube in the pool. Because you have no one to share it with. It doesn't get lonelier than that. I'll always understand this pain in the teeniest form. Because when my wife and I got married, we thought, I didn't even know what marriage was. I got married very young. And I remember coming home 4 months into our marriage, and my wife was crying. I said, honey, why are you crying? She said, because I realized we're not going to have a baby yet. I said, what? Baby? It's hard enough to have you. What do you mean, baby? She's like, I realized we're not having a baby. I said, what are you talking? And I said, 1 second. After 4 months, if she's crying, what is a couple feeling after a year or 2 or 5 or 10? And that's where our heroes come in. The Pasuk says that Paro decreed that every child boy will be thrown into the ocean, be thrown into the river. And the next pasuk says, "Vayelech ish mi bet Levi, vayikach et bat Levi." There was a man from the tribe of Levi who married a girl from Levi. And the commentaries ask a question. 1 second, you just heard the decree. The child gets thrown into the river. What are you doing? The answer is what that couple was doing is the essence, the embodiment of what Jews do. You make a decree that we can't have children. We get married and have children. And of course, that couple had the most incredible child the world has ever seen, Moshe Rabbeinu. I'd like to tell you about our little couple here today, Meyer and Golda Asher. They have no kids. They had 3 miscarriages. Most people like that sit in their home, silent, and talk to each other, barely share with their parents, for sure don't share with their siblings, and have their friends guessing. Instead, they said, here's our chance. We don't have children yet. Don't stay home. Don't be sad. Don't say, woe is me. Don't sit and cry. Find a way to help other people. I don't know where you came from. I don't know what made you this way. You know, my brother mentioned my mother's house. Last night I went to my mother's house. I said, Ma, I'm speaking at Giving Hand tomorrow. I said, this couple, Maya and Golda, they're unbelievable people. My mother says, Maya and Golda, you can't even imagine what they are. A couple has to have a baby. It's hard enough to all of a sudden it costs $18,000, $20,000, $25,000 for the cycle and the process. Where are you getting that from? In the last 2 years, they began 2 years ago, they've given out $700,000 to 85 couples, 15 of which already have children, and another 17, or maybe it's whatever, are expecting children. But you know what else they're doing to every single couple in this community that doesn't have a child yet? They're saying one powerful message. We have your back. We're here. You'll try and you'll try again. There are organizations out in the Jewish world that help, but we will make sure that you get to the finish line. If you have a child, we'll make sure you have a second. If you don't have a child and they're helping you a little, we will help with the rest. We will get you there. I think when you open this up, you called it a giving hand. I'd like to talk about one of the most famous giving hands in the history of our people. And that was about that same baby that I mentioned a minute ago. That baby was born, and he was put into the river in a little basket. And he was floating. And the Pasuk says the daughter of Paro was bathing that day. And she stuck out her hand. She stuck out her hand, and our rabbis say that her hand really couldn't reach. The baby was way further than her hand was. So commentaries ask, so then why'd you even stretch out your hand? If you told me get something from that house, I'm not stretching out my hand. It's ridiculous. How could she ever imagine that Hashem would allow her hand to extend and get the baby? The answer is that's the essence of who we are. Paro makes a decree against our babies. The next minute, you get married and have babies. Then the baby's in the river with no one there to help. The first ever giving hand sticks out as far as she could, and Hashem takes care of the rest. Maya and Golda, you have that same hand. That same hand that you look around at our community and said, you have challenges, we have the same ones. We're going to extend our hand and see how much we can help. I doubt you knew if you could help one when you began, or even 2 or 3. But you've already helped 85, and after today, you're going to help more and more, and we're going to stand here and 10 years from now, and we're going to look back at hundreds of children that were born because of you. Because of a young couple. I don't know where you got the guts. I don't know where you got the courage. I don't know where you got this mindset from. A young couple that figured, let's stick out our hand and see how far it reaches. Let me give you 3 examples. 3 real stories. Story number 1 is to show you the need. Not having a child is so painful that there was one mom whose daughter was married for a number of years and had no kids. The mom's a teacher. The daughter didn't have the funds. The mom didn't either have the funds. But the mom said, I want to do everything for my daughter to have a child. She went into her pension and into her life insurance and took money from those in order to try and have a baby. And Maya and Golda called up and said, no. Save that for when you need it. We'll help your daughter have a baby. Story number 2. There was a couple who on a Friday afternoon, the woman called up Golda and said, we don't have the funds. We can't fill out the papers. They're going to stop the cycle. It's Friday. On Monday, they're stopping the cycle. We put in this energy, and it's not going to happen because we can't do it. Golda said to her, where are you right now? She says, I'm working. I'm at work. She says, I'm coming over. Golda comes in her car, picks up this woman, takes her to the place on the spot, pays for the rest of what's needed for the cycle to happen, helps the woman fill out her forms, and comes home basically an hour before Shabbat. Spent the whole day with this woman making sure that she can make sure she goes through with the cycle. And the woman is due tomorrow. Now, before I tell you a third story, I need to tell you a powerful little message. And then I'm letting you go. Then it's Harry, and it's over. There was once a couple who had a child. This is years ago. And the child had challenges, a lot of physical challenges. After a year and a half, they went to someone. They said, could you give us advice? The person said, I don't have any advice to you, but go to this woman. Her name is Rebbitzin Osband. She's an older woman. She's a Holocaust survivor. Her son is a major Rosh Hashiva in America today. Go to her. Maybe she could share with you, give you some strength. They went to Rebbitzin Osband, and here's what she said. She said, I know nothing about your situation. She says, all I could tell you is about mine. She says, I survived the Holocaust. She says, before the Holocaust, if you would have given me all the money in the world to go through the Holocaust, I would have said absolutely no. She says, but after the Holocaust was over, if you gave me all the money in the world for the lessons that I learned, I would not trade it. The lessons, the growth, the strength, the person I became through my ordeal, you could give me millions of dollars. I wouldn't take it because of who I've become, because of what I went through. She says, I cannot tell you about your situation, but I know that who you're becoming in the process is something incredible. And here's my last story with that little introduction. A number of months ago, there was a couple that was going for another IVF cycle. The doctor said that in order to go through this cycle, I need you to visit every doctor on the team. I need you to visit the doctor. Then I need you to visit the doctor that handles this piece, the doctor that handles the cardiologist, the brain, every single part of your body. I want to make sure that everything's okay in order to be able to go through this cycle. The woman says, she's a woman in our community, she says, like, this is just going to delay it. I'm waiting long enough. Like, I have to go to this doctor and that doctor and that doctor and that doctor. But she did it. So the doctor said. She went to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist says, there's a problem with your heart. She says, you need open heart surgery. And so this woman, 3 months ago, in May, had open heart surgery. And after the surgery was over, the doctor said, you know, you had no children till now. She says, yes, I know. He says, you're lucky you didn't have any children. She says, why? He said, because had you had a child, it would have been either you or the child. Because of your heart issue, it would have been impossible for you and the child to live. It's a miracle that you have not had a child till now, because that child would have killed you. What makes this story so powerful is that the couple I'm talking about that just had this open heart surgery, that just heard that from the doctor, is Golda and Maya Asher. Do you believe these people? Do you I don't know what makes our community have a couple like this that is so heroic, that is going through so much on their own, and they're open enough and confident enough and comfortable enough to let all of us share it. And they take their pain and they say, let me solve yours before I solve mine. You're going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and on Friday afternoon you're picking up another woman and you're making sure someone else has money and someone else has a cycle and someone else has a cycle. Where did you come from? How did you become this way? How incredible are you? No no one before this 5 years happened, no one would have ever said that you would want to go through this. But by going through it, you've become incredible inspiration to every single one of us back here. I can't believe what you're doing. I've never seen anything like it. A couple this young, dealing with the challenge right now, giving it over and making sure that so many other people have their problems solved. Our job this morning is to support them. Not to support them for them, to support them, to support you, to make sure that every couple that's alone in their home, that doesn't have their courage, that's shy and that's embarrassed and doesn't know where to turn, has someone to call that will be open, that will give them money, that will take them out for lunch, that will smile, that will cry, that will be there for them in every way possible. Let me really end with this. All summer, people have asked my siblings and I, how you doing? You lost your father 4 months ago. How you doing? I'll tell you the honest answer. This is the truth. Am I cry saying it? It's not as painful as I thought it would be. I'm doing much better than I expected. And I'll tell you why. Because of one incident. The last day I went to my father's house, we knew we were taken to the hospital, and in all likelihood he was never going to come home. I was crossing the street, and my sons were crossing in front of me. And I said, 1 second. My father has kids. His kids have kids. Even if one day Hashem takes his life, my father will never leave this world, because his children are being him, and his grandchildren are dying to be him. So he's still alive. Do I miss him? Very much. But I feel like every single day, my siblings and I are doing everything in our power to be him, so that his legacy is here forever. Every single community member deserves that. Deserves to know that when they leave this earth, their legacy will be here forever. And that only happens if they know that they can have a child. It only happens if we have enough heroes in this backyard to help this heroic couple today extend their giving hand and make it go way further than they ever imagined. Thank you.
Rabbi, that was incredibly powerful. Unbelievable. I'm going to say a couple of things before I go around and try to raise some money for a giving hand. Spend just a couple of minutes, and then we'll fundraise. So I don't count. I don't believe in counting, including the amount of people in our community, the amount of synagogues, the amount of institutions, the amount of fundraisers that we go to. But I've been to many, 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 many homes and places that I've been invited to from Memorial Day until today. And I can tell you, no pun intended, with my giving hands down, I have never been so emotional as the speeches and the speakers that I've heard this morning. I cried twice while the rabbi and this young heroic lady was speaking. So enough was said about Golda and Meyer. That's enough. I don't think they wanted us to say anything, let alone everything we've said. But a giving hand, I didn't know what you were, who you were, and where you came from. But I saw a lot of WhatsApp messages coming through because somebody in the marketing team is doing an incredible guerrilla marketing. I don't know who's doing that, and I know you have no money to waste on it. But I got to tell you, you didn't move me. You didn't get me. But I read and we're so busy. We have so much going on. And then my son Amin calls me up. And he tells me, Daddy, I have a friend. He happens to be a rabbi. I want to be careful so we don't start to do our own equations. Please don't. And he was my teacher. And he got married late. And they're struggling. And they can't have a child. And I know there's a couple of other organizations out there that have helped and do help families and couples. And then I remembered all of those giving hand. And I said, Amin, I think I know who this man should call. A giving hand. And he said, what's that? I said, I don't know. But I know that they've been reaching out, and maybe I took a shot. I had a good feeling. And you know, here's my story. Because it's not my story, and it's not my son's story. Immediately, we gave the phone number of this person who financially, him and his wife, trust me, cannot afford. And they want a baby. Like everybody that doesn't have a baby that we've heard and that we haven't heard about. Everyone. And they took his call, and they called my son back, and they said, we got it. And Amin said, what do you need? He said, we don't need anything. We got it. And that, I have to tell you, you sold me. You owned me. You got me. Because not only what you're doing is critical to couples that are struggling, and I think $18,000 is cheap. I think $1 million is cheap. What is it to make a life? $1 billion? I don't know. Do you? Do you? No, none of us do. And you took it on, and you're doing incredible work. But why I said you got me is because you're doing it for our community. You're not doing it for some faraway place or people we don't know. Now, I love the people we don't know. I love faraway places. But you know what? I love this place more. And here's my wow factor. Somebody was saying, wow. The summer is ending, and I feel bad. Yeah, I'm tired. Yes, I've been coming and going all summer long. But I feel bad because if I can help more people, and I can help more organizations, and we can close the summer with a giving hand, then I don't want it to end either. Because of the importance of what this is. So thank you for helping that man that you and your wife know, him and his wife, who they are. And I got to